following show is paid programming and does not necessarily express the views and opinions of Urban Broadcast Media and its subsidiaries.
Thank you for listening to UBM Praise.
Let's go. Sir Walter Jones. Who is it? Sir Walter Jones. What's his name? Sir Walter Jones. Whose show is this? Sir Walter Jones. Who is it? Sir Walter Jones. Say it again. Sir Walter Jones. Who you with? Sir Walter Jones. One more again. Sir Walter Jones.
The Sir Walter Jones Show. Co-host Alvin Carter. We are a Christian talk show in where we tackle all the hot topics in a believer's walk. Monday is Men's Night. The Men's Chronicles, a woman's guide to men.
Sir Walter Jones. Who is it? Sir Walter Jones. What's his name? Sir Walter Jones. Whose show is this? Sir Walter Jones. Who is it? Sir Walter Jones. Say it again. Sir Walter Jones. Who you with? Sir Walter Jones. One more again. Sir Walter Jones.
Today is Monday, and that means it's the Men Chronicles, a woman's guide to men. No, we are not from Mars, but we are from homes that raise us correctly and, more importantly, godly. Get to know us a little better in the Men's Chronicles, right here on the Sir Walter Jones Show.
Barack Obama in 2004 was totally unknown. People were saying, I don't know who this guy is. I wonder why they picked him.
He had this reputation as a bit of an upstart, as sort of a young, rising figure in the party, but no one knew who this guy was. This was his chance to introduce himself to people.
Tonight is a particular honor for me because, let's face it, my presence on this stage is pretty unlikely. My father was a foreign student, born and raised in a small village in Kenya.
What makes a great political speech is if you can somehow fold your story into this larger American story.
The next thing he says is about his mother's family. His grandfather fought in World War II. He used the GI Bill. They settled in Kansas, so white people could say, he's just like us.
My parents shared not only an improbable love, they shared an abiding faith in the possibilities of this nation. I stand here knowing that my story is part of the larger American story, that I owe a debt to all of those who came before me, and that in no other country on earth is my story even possible.
Going into this speech, we've had 4 years of George Bush, and we felt as a country like we've grown further apart.
2004 was very much a divisive partisan race. Obama's speech is in some ways an antidote to that.
Alongside our famous individualism, there's another ingredient in the American saga, a belief that we're all connected as one people. If there's a child on the south side of Chicago who can't read, that matters to me even if it's not my child. If there's a senior citizen somewhere who can't pay for their prescription drugs and having to choose between medicine and the rent, that makes my life poorer even if it's not my grandparent. It is that fundamental belief, I am my brother's keeper, I am my sister's keeper, that makes this country work. E pluribus unum, out of many, one.
He gives a speech that presages his entire political message of 2008, which is this sort of post-partisan argument.
Now, even as we speak, there are those who are preparing to divide us. The spin masters, the negative ad peddlers, who embrace the politics of anything goes. Well, I say to them tonight, there is not a liberal America and a conservative America. There is the United States of America.
Obama was born with two great gifts. One is his mind, and the other is his ability to speak to large groups of people.
There are three things that Obama does that really makes that speech effective. He wants concrete detail. He likes story. And he loves antithesis, the use of repetition in structure to show contrast. There is not a liberal America or a conservative America. There is one America.
There is not a black America and a white America and Latino America and Asian America. There's the United States of America. The pundits like to slice and dice our country into red states and blue states, but I've got news for them too. We worship an awesome God in the blue states, and we don't like federal agents poking around in our libraries in the red states. We coach Little League in the blue states, and yes, we've got some gay friends in the red states. We are one people, all of us pledging allegiance to the Stars and Stripes, all of us defending the United States of America.
The way he uses his hands, he actually points a lot and does a lot of this, and a lot of this, and a lot of that.
In doing so, he gives off this sense of energy. I am new. I'm someone who is dynamic.
And he doesn't do that so much anymore. He's a little more solemn and reserved when he gives speeches today, but I think it's more reflective of his office.
In the end, that's what this election is about. Do we participate in a politics of cynicism, or do we participate in a politics of hope? It's the hope of slaves sitting around a fire singing freedom songs. The hope of immigrants setting out for distant shores. The hope of a young naval lieutenant bravely patrolling the Mekong Delta. The hope of a mill worker's son who dares to defy the odds. The hope of a skinny kid with a funny name who believes that America has a place for him too. Hope in the face of difficulty. Hope in the face of uncertainty. The audacity of hope.
His appearance at that convention, which was the best speech of the convention, better than John Kerry's, was electrifying, and without it, he wouldn't be president.
I think sincerity means a lot. There are people who, when they speak the truth as they see it, and they're very effective doing that.
I believe this country will reclaim its promise, and out of this long political darkness, a brighter day will come. Thank you very much, everybody. God bless you.
Hello everybody, it's Sir Walter of the Sir Walter Jones Show. I'm he. It is Monday. Men's Chronicles. We sit around the mic and talk about the men to men, about men dealing with the ladies, dealing with the men. But today we're going another way. We're going to spin this another way. We're not talking about the men. We're not talking about women. We're talking about everybody. Today's show is dealing with the great orators, the sermons and the speeches of our time. All those wonderful men and women out there who stood on the podium behind that can they call a microphone, and they began to speak with fervor and poise and passion. Words might have been prepared the night before, or might have just come spontaneously, but what it did was it affected the room, the audience, the stadium, those who were standing outside the Marshall Field's window. It affected the church houses and affected us in our homes watching television, or we were probably sitting by the radio during fireside chats listening to Franklin Delano Roosevelt just talk to us about the state of our country. These motivational speakers, these men and women who inspired us to get off of our heinies and get out there and do something about ourselves and change the world one person at a time. We want to feature these people. These are preachers, these are secular people who are educators, scholars. Even we got a couple of evil men, these dictators. So the good and the bad. They were great for those people at that time. And many of these speeches are timeless. They catch us today in our most unexpected time of despair. and sadness. And some of us we're already inspired. We just need that extra kick. So I put the post out there a few days ago and asked people who were their greatest orators and sermonettes and speeches and what have you. And y'all chimed in. Man, it was great. And I have some here. Elder Kevin McGee, I see you. You said G. Patterson. Well, we got him today. I see Dimitri Brand Triplets got Angelo. Don't worry. We got her. Brother Scott, I see you there. You got Willie James Campbell. Don't worry. We got him. Man, we going there today. Some I wasn't able to pull up their sound bites because some of them just didn't get recorded. For instance, Bruni, I think you put up Judge Eugene Pincham, one of the great judges of our day here in Chicago. I was a young man in grammar school when my teacher took me to the courthouse to tour the courthouse and see how a court session goes. And there was the great Judge Eugene Pincham. And that man was so inspirational to me. He had big words, but man, when he opened his mouth, just the deepness of his voice, it was amazing. Art Lewis, I see you. You got Adam Clayton. I got him there. All right. I know Martin Luther King name going to pop up a few times, but also Dimitri, I see you got Sister Soldier there. Let's see. Dick Gregory, absolutely, another great. And many of you just, you guys are punching it in there. Kevin Page, I see you. C.L. Franklin, I got that. Marcus Williams says Elder Johnny James. Okay. Let's see. As we scroll down here, Avery Brooks, Art says, is no joke. The brother is an actual literally that is, professor. Melissa Green says J.O. Patterson, of course, G.E. Patterson. Yep, you're right. The late Elder S.E. Mitchell, says Marcus William Hart. Let's see, Bishop Ford. Yes, Richard E. Young Sr. is mentioning Bishop Ford, my bishop. Gone on, but great man. Natalie Bullock says P.T. Barnum. Yes, that is so right. I forgot about that. Demonet says Dr. Jeremiah Wright. Yes, I agree with that one. That assessment right there, because I would hear him just do weddings, and he just marveled the place. He also goes on to say Dr. Gardner, C. Taylor, Reverend Dr. Charles G. Adams, Reverend Terry Anderson, Reverend Dr. Samuel DeWitt Proctor, Reverend D.H. Beecher Hicks, and Dr. James Cone. Man, Natalie also says Barbara Jordan and Angela Davis. Yes, Angela Davis actually was definitely a wonderful orator for civil rights. Henry Louis Gates, absolutely, Natalie, thank you again. And Cornell West, E.K. Bailey as well. Art is giving me Johnny Coleman, Reverend Johnny Coleman here in Chicago. Ray Fuller Richardson is telling me Bishop Herman Murray and G. Craig Lewis. Yes, this is great stuff, man. Wow, y'all doing it here. And I got some stuff here. Okay, Chris Simpson, thank you. Dr. Ravi Zacharias, great speaker. Is it Ravi or Ravi? I'm not sure. Chris, you can correct me on that. Well, I'm gonna start my list here of the greats out there. I'm gonna go to number one, Brittany. This is the Gettysburg Address. Come on now. You got to have this in a show like this. The Gettysburg Address is probably, in American history, the greatest speech ever written. All right? It is only maybe number one or number two to the great speech on the March to Washington. All right? So this is Gettysburg Address by the man he freed us, supposedly, Abraham Lincoln, 1863.
77 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Now we are engaged in a great civil war, testing whether that nation, or any nation so conceived and so dedicated, can long endure. We are met on a great battlefield of that war. We have come to dedicate a portion of that field as a final resting place for those who here gave their lives that that nation might live. It is altogether fitting and proper that we should do this. But in a larger sense, we cannot dedicate, we cannot consecrate, we cannot hallow this ground. The brave men, living and dead, who struggled here, have consecrated it far above our poor power to add or detract. The world will little note nor long remember what we say here, but it can never forget what they did here. It is for us, the living, rather, to be dedicated here to the unfinished work which they who fought here have thus far so nobly advanced. It is rather for us to be here, dedicated to the great task remaining before us, that from these honored dead we take increased devotion to that cause for which they gave the last full measure of devotion. That we here highly resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain. That this nation, under God, shall have a new birth of freedom. And that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth.
The great speech of our time, the Gettysburg Address, Abraham Lincoln. Of course, that wasn't Abraham, by the way. He was dead. We didn't have enough. We didn't record his speech, so that was from an actor, well-known actor, by the way. I just forgot his name. One of them Jeff boys, I can't remember. The Triumph of the Wheel is an Adolf Hitler closing speech, and this was given to these youths, the Sixth Nazi Party Congress, in September 8, 1934. And Hess opened up and said, "The Führer will speak." And people started cheering. And then Hitler began to speak and said, "The Sixth Party Congress of the movement is coming to an end. What millions of Germans outside of our party ranks may have considered only a most impressive display of political power has meant immeasurably more for the old fighters, the great personal and spiritual meetings of old fighters and comrades in arms." And he just began to rally the troops, this Nazi racist party here. And then he goes on to say the party will for all time to come represent the elite of the political leadership of the German people. It will be unchangeable in its doctrine, hard as steel in its organizational tactics, subtle and adaptable in its entity. However, it will be like a holy order. I mean, this man was really searing the brains of these youths to the empowerment of Germany. It says also, but the goal must be that all loyal Germans will become national socialists. Only the best national socialists are members of the party. Okay, and we know we have a man who's running as a socialist today who is being reminded of this speech by the Republican Party. He continues to say, in the past, our enemies persecuted us and have removed the undesirable elements from our party for us. Today, we ourselves must remove undesirable elements which have proven to be bad. What is bad has no place among us. And they begin to applaud. That was the Führer, Adolf Hitler. And, of course, we know what happened to him and the German people after the war ended. Yeah, and, you know, you look at Donald Trump, who is like this man in the way that he rallies the troops in a bigoted way to get people all riled up. And that's why speeches are so dangerous. They could motivate and also kill. We always, Alvin and I make the analogy of how one man could literally kill thousands. Look at Jim Jones. One man killed all those people on that island. I think it was Guyana, one of them islands. Okay, I think it was about 1,000 people drank the Kool-Aid. Yeah, something like that. And you know, look at them. Look at a pilot with the people that's on an airplane. One man could make a mistake and kill all those people at one time. And so a man standing behind the podium, man or woman, could say things and wipe out an entire nation because they are motivated by what he's saying, you know. And so they says if you want to get a point across, pound on the podium and raise your voice. When you do that, people will begin to believe what you say because it's passionate, and that's what politicians use to get the people to vote for them. We're going to a number 2, Brittany. This is by Patrick Henry, one of the great speeches of our day, leading into the, I think, the American Revolutionary War. Give me liberty or give me death.
Sir, we have no election. If we were base enough to desire it, it is now too late to retire from the contest. There is no retreat, but in submission and slavery our chains are forged. Their clanking may be heard on the plains of Boston. The war is inevitable, and let it come. I repeat, sir, let it come. It is in vain, sir, to extenuate the matter. Gentlemen may cry peace, peace, but there is no peace. The war is actually begun. The next gale that sweeps from the north will bring to our ears the crash of resounding arms. Our brethren are already in the field. Why stand we here idle? What is it the gentlemen wish? What would they have? Is life so dear and peace so sweet as to be purchased at the price of chains and slavery? Forbid it, Almighty God! I know not what course others may take, but as for me, give me liberty or give me death!
I feel that even today. Good Lord. Who speaks like that today? Well, a few people do. And it doesn't matter if it's what they're saying is right or wrong. It's the passion behind it. John F. Kennedy is about to walk in the room, and he gives a statement here that you've been hearing for over 50-some years. He says, ask not what your country can do for you, and I think you know the rest.
In the long history of the world, only a few generations have been granted the role of defending freedom in its hour of maximum danger. I do not shrink from this responsibility. I welcome it. I do not believe that any of us would exchange places with any other people or any other generation. The energy, the faith, the devotion which we bring to this endeavor will light our country and all who serve it. And the glow from that fire can truly light the world. And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country. My fellow citizens of the world, ask not what America will do for you, but what together we can do for the freedom of man.
What together we can do for the freedom of man. Another great orator, great speeches. He had a couple of them. Matter of fact, he mentioned also about going to the moon, putting men on this spaceship, okay, this rocket, and men will be on the moon at the end of the decade. And so he was a prophet because in 1969 that actually did happen. We're going to Mahatma Gandhi. And this is a speech from, this is actually from the movie, I think, 1982, Gandhi movie, 1982. This was the protest speech. And listen to how it sounds familiar as it pertains to the black struggle as well.
I praise such courage. I need such courage because in this cause, I too am prepared to die. But, my friend, there is no cause for which I am prepared to kill. Whatever they do to us, we will attack no one, kill no one. But we will not give our fingerprints, not one of us. They will imprison us, they will fine us, they will seize our possessions, but they cannot take away our self-respect if we do not give it to them.
Have you been to prison? They beat us and torture us. I say they beat us.
I am asking you to fight against their anger, not to provoke it. We will not strike a blow, but we will receive them, and through our pain, we will make them see their injustice, and it will hurt, as all fighting hurts. But we cannot lose. We cannot. They may torture my body, break my bones, even kill me. Then they will have my dead body, not my obedience.
They will have my dead body, but not my obedience. That is the great Ben Kingsley, that is, 1982. Great, one of the greatest movies written, at least in that decade. Candice Bergen was in the movie as well as Martin Sheen, and Edward Fox was in that, and Daniel Day-Lewis was in that movie. And of course, we know Daniel Day played Abraham. I forgot the name of the movie. Was it called Abraham? Lincoln. Yeah, it was called Lincoln. Duh. Another, a matter of fact, I think he got an Oscar nod for that. It was an amazing. He transformed into Lincoln, even though we don't know, huh? He did win us for that. You see what I'm saying? He transformed into Lincoln, and even though we don't know what he sounded like or how his mannerism was, he just an amazing. And one thing about Gandhi is we know that Martin Luther King. Really, I went to Martin Luther King's church and his house, and I visited his office in Atlanta, and I saw the notes, and I saw the Gandhi papers everywhere. Just amazing how this man catered the struggle, the fight, the civil rights fight after Gandhi. And Martin Luther King said, Christ gave me the message, but Gandhi gave me the method. And, of course, there are some files we will play who goes against that whole thing about peace. And how Martin Luther King got it right, and the rest of them, well, they struggled with it. I want to play something here because we are saddened. Today we woke up to the news of Doug Banks dying. Just heard him on the radio Friday. On my way to work, I listened to the great Doug Banks show. I think it's called Banks and Company. Doug Banks show. This is an interview from the Funk Chronicles, hosted by Dr. John Turk Logan. But I was listening to V103 on the way in a few minutes ago, and they were all in tears. They couldn't even do the show. It was just amazing how a man could be there one day. He was at the Women's Expo this weekend doing his thing, and then boom, he's gone. V103 says, with a heavy heart, we share the news with you that Doug Banks has passed away. Our thoughts and prayers are with his family and friends at this very difficult time. Rest in peace, our good friend. You will greatly be missed. That man, and of course, Herb Kent, the cool gent, and the hardest working man in radio. All three of these guys really are responsible for me being on radio today. So we want to honor this great man in his life. So let's listen to this file of him talking about his beginnings as we go to this break and come back a little soon. This is the Sir Walter Jones Show.
Oh no! Did you miss part of today's show? Well, just head to Spreaker.com. That is Spreaker, Spreaker.com, and type in the Sir Walter Jones Show to get today's episode and past ones. So do it now.
With me today, I'm so proud and honored, is the legendary Mr. Doug Banks.
Dirk, nice to see you.
You too, Doug. How you doing?
Good, man. Congratulations on your award.
Thank you.
That's fabulous.
What brings you today?
Well, you know what? For years, we had a very successful morning show here on WROU. And Actually, this weekend we're doing a ROU family reunion. So all the people that worked the radio station, no matter what they did, on-air personalities, salespeople, management, all of us are getting together this weekend because we haven't gotten together since ROU went away when Renita Hall-Saunders owned it. So we put together this weekend, and we're going to have just a nice bash tonight, and then we got something planned for tomorrow and throughout the weekend. It's going to be really nice. Yeah.
Now, you were born in Philadelphia. You didn't stay there very long.
Born in Philadelphia, only there till I was 8 months old. Pretty much Detroit was home.
Detroit.
Grew up in Detroit. Went to school just outside of Detroit in Southfield, Michigan, which is where I got my radio start at my high school radio station.
Right.
And then left there and went on to what I thought was going to be a career in law. And interesting, I was at the University of Michigan, and it was, I think it was around March, and I was in Ann Arbor, and it was cold, and it was snow on the ground, and I came home one day from a class. I'd just taken a test, and I figured I probably had not done really well on that test.
Right.
So I was a little bit upset about that, and I got home. And I remember listening to my answering machine. That's how old this is. They had answering machines in these days.
Right.
And I remember hitting the answering machine, and there was a message from a guy in California, in Los Angeles. His name was J.J. Johnson.
Okay.
And he ran a radio station in L.A. called K-Day.
Big station.
Huge station.
Yeah.
And he said to me, hey, man, my name is J.J. Johnson. I don't know you, but I've heard a tape of you, and I like what you're doing. I want to hire you to do 6 to 10 at night. And I was like, wait a minute. Let me see if I understand this right.
The skies have opened up.
You want me to come to L.A., do nights in the second largest radio and television market in the country.
Exactly.
And I'm sitting in Ann Arbor right now in snow. I'm gone. I'm out. So it's like 18 years old, and my mother was crushed, but I went, and that's where I basically got my start.
I read somewhere that you did a little country radio.
Yes, yeah. You know what? I'll tell you, it's funny. There's not the only format that I have never done, I believe, is talk.
Right.
When I was growing up in Detroit, there was the first radio job. One of the first radio jobs I ever had was a station. It was a country station called WDEE, big country station in Detroit. And I used to work overnights, like 3 to 5 in the morning.
Ooh. Been there.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And you know the thing about country music in those days, all those songs, not a one of them was over 3 minutes long. So you're playing like 30 songs in an hour. It was crazy.
Exactly.
But man, I've done country, I've done pop, I've done R&B, obviously. I've done even beautiful music.
Right.
I even did that for a while. I've done it all. Yeah, incredibly.
Voluptuous.
So you would never know who you would see.
Sure.
One day I was walking into the apartment again, and I saw this guy, and this guy said to me, he goes, hey, he said, aren't you a DJ? And I said, yeah. And he said, what's your name? I said, Doug Banks. He said, well, I'm John Sebastian. And he had just come out from Minneapolis to run a station in Los Angeles called KHJ. Right. Legendary station, pop station. So we got to talking, and some things had happened, and some management changes had happened at K-Day, and sometimes when the stars align just right. Anyway, make a long story short, I ended up doing part-time relief for this guy, John Sebastian, at KHJ. And because in those days, KHJ was owned by RKO General, it was union. It was a union shop.
Right.
I worked, I think, 3 days a week and made grand theft dough.
I bet.
I mean, it was ridiculous money.
Major League, yeah. Union Major League. Yeah.
So I did that in L.A., and then one day the guy came to me and he said, listen, he said, we want to start using you to go between L.A. and San Francisco. Our station in San Francisco is KFRC.
Right.
And I was like, okay, again, another legendary station in Northern California.
Right.
And I would go and do part-time and fill-in work in San Francisco. So they would fly me from L.A. up to San Francisco, put me up. I'd go in there, work for like a week or 2 or 3 days, and I'd come back to L.A. It was great. And I did that for about a year and a half.
Right.
And then after that, I got the call to go and do afternoons in Chicago at BMX, which is now B103.
Going back in that cold weather, but BMX is a great station.
It was a great station. I worked for a guy by the name of Jim Maddox and Lee Michaels, and it was a wonderful experience, really good. And then I left there and went back to Northern California and worked at KDIA. And then after that, back to Chicago again in 82, and I stayed there.
That's the great Doug Banks being interviewed by Dr. John Turk Logan. This was August 14, 2015. You could hear the beginnings, him telling his story, how he got it started, how he came here. 1982, man, when that voice came on the air, I will never forget it.
I remember the mornings with him and Tom Joyner.
Tom Joyner.
And then it split.
Tom Joyner went to AM at one time, and then he came back.
He was that afternoon ride.
Yes, sir.
Doug Banks and the Dan Ryan here.
Yes, sir. You had Herbert Spann, your blues man, and a couple other people. And I tell you, radio was still hot in the early 80s.
Oh, definitely.
Because, back in the day, that's all we had. That's all we looked at. There was no internet.
Right.
Not as we know it, because we know the internet.
Yes.
Was only for college. That was
military.
And military.
And the police cars.
There it is. Yeah, just wonderful memory. So again, let's pray for the Banks family.
Yeah, when I saw Chris Bass's post, I almost shed a tear as if I knew him personally.
I thought it was a hoax.
No, I didn't think it was a hoax
because he was just on the. He had
just got back on the air.
He was just at the Women's Expo. He was just there.
Oh wow!
Right here, and so that's why I thought it was a hoax. So somebody inboxed me, Did you hear it? I said, nah, let me go on the internet. I went on the internet and find it nowhere. I said, nah, that's a hoax. Gotta be. And then I typed in on Facebook his name. Then I realized, oh, Lord, he's gone.
Oh, wow.
Because the news came from Herb Kent.
Herb, okay.
Then I knew.
If Herb says it.
Yeah, I knew it was over.
Now, who'd ever thought Herb would outlive Doug?
I said it on the way here. I was listening to Reveal 103, and I'm saying to myself, because they were calling out certain names in the business, and I said, Herb Kent, he didn't outlive many of
most of his contemporaries.
Herb wasn't in the 80s now?
I don't know, but I think he was there when radio was invented.
Yeah, he was. Yo, cool gent.
Yes.
Brittany, we're going to number 5. This is FDR's first inaugural speech. He says something about nothing to fear.
But fear itself.
Mm-hmm. It is preeminently the time to speak the truth frankly and boldly. Nor need we shrink from honestly facing conditions in our country today. This great nation will endure as it has endured, will revive and will prosper. So first of all, let me assert my firm belief that the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. Nameless, unreasoning, unjustified terror, which paralyzes needed effort to convert retreat into advance.
Yes, that's the great Franklin Delano. And then, he had another situation. He had to address Congress. This is him on December 8, 1941, the day after Japan bombed Pearl Harbor. And Roosevelt gives a speech at a joint session of Congress. And you can't be disorganized anymore.
Yes.
Like this. I mean, both parties. Mm-hmm. They were all trying to be at one. Unless a catastrophe do happen here, because when the towers hit, there was no Republicans or Democrats.
It was God bless America.
Yep, there was no black and whites. It was just us against them. Okay, let's go for that file there.
Vice President, Mr. Speaker, members of the Senate, of the House of Representatives, yesterday, December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy. The United States of America was suddenly and deliberately attacked by naval and air forces of the Empire of Japan. The United States was at peace with that nation, and at the solicitation of Japan was still in conversation with its government and its emperor, looking toward the maintenance of peace in the Pacific. The attack yesterday on the Hawaiian Islands has caused severe damage to American naval and military forces. I regret to tell you that very many American lives have been lost. In addition, American ships have been reported torpedoed on the high seas between San Francisco and Honolulu. As Commander-in-Chief of the Army and Navy, I have directed that all measures be taken for our defense, but always will our whole nation remember the character of the onslaught against us. No matter how long it may take us to overcome this premeditated invasion, the American people in their righteous might will win through to absolute victory.
Officer Carter,
yes, sir.
What makes that speech so memorable?
It was the first time I ever heard the word infamy.
Yeah.
Of course, it happened long before I was ever even on the earth.
Right.
But I remember the Time Life books commercials used to
that's
always
right.
run that part of the speech.
Over and over.
It made it so impactful because it was transparent and informative. And informative in such a way because they didn't have mass media like we do now.
That's true.
So he's reporting something that many people had just heard for the first time because you could hear the responses in the background of the audience. And he made a declaration. He established a position that was between the United States and the Empire of Japan, and said that they were working on this and working on that. And then he said after we were trying to keep it good and help make it better, they did this to us. So he projected that there was a betrayal, a stabbing in the back.
Yes.
He had to stir up a rage without causing a riot.
That's good. That's why I asked you, because I knew you would bring that out. And I knew that that's why that speech was so memorable. I had to play all.
I had never heard all of it before.
Yeah.
That was my first time hearing it all.
And I spliced it. That's not all of it.
Well, I could hear the edit.
Sure. Yeah. I straight edited that sucker.
Yeah, I could hear the air.
Oh, yeah. This is the great Winston Churchill.
Oh, wow.
All right. Now, he sometimes he make you laugh the way he talk. But this was the great speech of "We shall fight on the beach. We shall fight on the beaches."
Now, and see, I gotta throw it. Well, I'll wait till the speech is over to throw my conspiracy theories.
Okay, all right. It ain't long. It's short. Go for it.
At any rate, that is what we are going to try to do. That is the resolve of His Majesty's government, every man of them. That is the will of Parliament and the nation. The British Empire and the French Republic, linked together in their cause and in their need, will defend to the death their native soil, aiding each other like good comrades to the utmost of their strength. We shall go on to the end. We shall fight in France. We shall fight on the seas and oceans. We shall fight with growing confidence and growing strength in the air. We shall defend our island, whatever the cost may be. We shall fight on the beaches. We shall fight on the landing grounds. We shall fight in the fields and in the streets. We shall fight in the hills. We shall never surrender. And if, which I do not for a moment believe, this island or a large part of it were subjugated and starving, then our empire beyond the seas, armed and guarded by the British fleet, would carry on the struggle until, in God's good time, the new world, with all its power and might, steps forth to the rescue and the liberation of the old.
We shall never surrender. We shall never give up. We shall never. Okay, but we're not Brits, so we don't understand the How would you explain that?
The delivery, because they have a whole different way of inflection and vocabulary. And,
that's it.
You know, they're gentlemen. Everything is gentlemen, and even though they were very brutal people, everything was done in a very gentlemanly way.
Right.
They called us savages, though.
They did. And Demetrius said he always sounded like he was drunk.
Well, he may have been. You know,
he might have been, yeah.
He probably had a goblet of brandy in his hand as he was saying it with a cigar in it. Yeah, that's what they called the glass of goblet.
I know.
A goblet of brandy.
That's why I was impressed.
Oh, okay. Or a flask of his pocket.
Bully
for you. Wait.
All right. Eisenhower. This is his farewell.
Okay, before you go to Eisenhower. I often believed, after doing it, because Churchill asked for the United States to join WW2 long before December 7th.
Sure.
Then all of a sudden, and then he made the speech. And all of a sudden, we get bombed. We just chilling. Right. We get bombed.
Straight neutral.
Yes.
Yeah, ain't that something?
I mean, we was right in the middle. We don't need to get in this war. We just did WW1. We fine. And all of a sudden.
You know there's a backstory to that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, they had to get us in because they would have lost if we hadn't came in.
Yes, they would have lost.
You know, they say the sun doesn't set on the British Empire, but they couldn't make it from South America all the way up.
Oh, that's right.
It was spread too far.
Yeah. And there was some...
You colonies belong to us. We need your help.
And there's some things that I ain't saying on the radio because there's some conspiracy things that was happening. One reason why Japan did bomb us was the same reason for the 911. There was a pre-warning, believe it or not.
Okay.
But there were some things that we just slipped on. You know why the Bible says, well, while men were asleep, the enemy came?
Yes.
Yeah. But anyway, that's another story.
911 is a whole other thing.
Yeah, that's a whole other program. This is the great Eisenhower. This is the general of our day, military general.
D.D.
Yeah. He getting ready to leave here January 17, 1961. This is his resignation, his farewell address, pretty much. Not his resignation, but his farewell address. He talking about the military-industrial complex.
My fellow Americans, this evening I come to you with a message of leave-taking and farewell, and to share a few final thoughts with you, my countrymen. We have been compelled to create a permanent armaments industry of vast proportions. 3.5 million men and women are directly engaged in the defense establishment. The total influence, economic, political, even spiritual, is felt in every city, every state house, every office of the federal government. We recognize the imperative need for this development, yet we must not fail to comprehend its grave implications. In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex. The potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists and will persist. We must never let the weight of this combination endanger our liberties or democratic processes.
Wow, did he prophesy or what?
Yeah, I was going to say he did. And now today we have what's called the prison industrial complex.
But there's still a military industrial complex too.
We spend more on military than we do anything else.
And that's a man who's from the military.
That's what I say. That's what made it so shocking.
Worked his way up the ranks, I believe.
Yep. That's what made it
had
so
a
shocking.
soldier's heart.
Yeah. Now this one here is, of course, Martin Luther King. But I'm going to do the speech where it's not so much that's more memorable than the march, but this one is when he was over at a place where I stood many a day, Mason Temple in Memphis, Tennessee. Our church, our headquarters, that is, of the Church of God in Christ. And there he was standing there, April 3rd, 1968. He was sick. He didn't want to come to the meeting. And they begged him. People had filled the place. Says, Martin, you got to get down here, man. Because he was down there for a strike for
garbage workers.
The garbage workers, yeah. And he stood in that pulpit, and sometime when you see in history it says Masonic Temple.
Yes.
So we have to always correct him. But this is I've been to the mountaintop. Great speech right here. Another prophetic utterance, I guess you could call it.
I'll never see you no more.
Yeah,
Somebody said to that effect.
Yeah, let's go for it.
All we say to America is be true to what you said on paper. If I lived in China or even Russia or any totalitarian country, maybe I could understand some of these illegal injunctions. Maybe I could understand the denial of certain basic First Amendment privileges because they haven't committed themselves to that over there. But somewhere I read of the freedom of assembly. Somewhere I read of the freedom of speech. Somewhere I read of the freedom of press. Somewhere I read that the greatness of America is the right to protest far right. And so just as I say we aren't going to let any dogs or water hoses turn us around, we aren't going to let any injunction turn us around. Well, I don't know what will happen now. We've got some difficult days ahead. But it really doesn't matter with me now because I've been to the mountaintop. Like anybody, I would like to live a long life. Longevity has its place. But I'm not concerned about that now. I just want to do God's will. And He's allowed me to go up to the mountain. And I've looked over and I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land. So I'm happy tonight. I'm not worried about anything. I'm not fearing any man. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord.
Man. What a speech. And he meant that thing.
And it was impromptu.
It was very impromptu. Yeah. That's what made him one of the greatest orators of any day.
He had a wealth of knowledge.
He had
just
a wealth of it. Just drew out of his.
I mean, he went from Moses. He went from the Battle Hymn Republic. He went from the Constitution.
Yeah.
He pulled from so many reference points.
Yeah, Martin Luther King was a gift to us. I believe that. My heart of hearts, he was definitely a gift to us. What makes that speech in that place so historic is that Mason Temple, when it was built, it should not have been built because it was built during wartime when rations were going on, and that place, if you go in there, it's steel everywhere. Okay, and they wasn't giving steel even to white folk at the time.
Right.
So it was the largest African American church at that time built and given steel to Bishop C.H. Mason at a time where they were taking the steel and giving it to Rosie the Riveter, you know. And so God has just set that thing up, you know, for that man at that time will be able to speak in that
one day
place.
I get to go and see that edifice.
Oh, it's amazing. It's the hallowed halls. It's just amazing when you walk in there. You know, you can't do nothing but just bow your heads and think about, you know, what happened back then. And I'm not saying that place is more holy than any other place.
No,
it's just
has a special place.
The special place, that architectural, that memorable thing. Lou Gehrig, remember him?
Oh, yeah.
You ever want a disease named after you?
No.
Okay, I didn't think so.
No.
Yeah, me either.
No.
That's not an honor that I want. He delivers his famous speech at Yankee Stadium. July 4th, y'all, 1939.
First baseman Lou Gehrig hung up an amazing mark by playing in 2,130 consecutive games. Then a fatal disease attacked baseball's Iron Man. In Yankee Stadium, touched to tears by the tribute, Gehrig made his last public appearance.
For the past 2 weeks, you've been reading about a bad brag. Today, I consider myself the luckiest man on the face of the earth. When you look around, wouldn't you consider it privilege to associate yourself with such a fine-looking man as is standing in uniform in this ballpark today? That I might have been given a bad break but I've got an offer.
Yeah, it just fades.
Yes.
What do they call it? MLS? What is it called? Something LS. That's
ALS.
There it
ALS.
is.
Lou Gehrig's.
That's the one with the bucket challenge?
Yes.
Yes. God. Yeah, we all did it. Even I got it on YouTube, the bucket challenge.
No, I ain't do that.
Yeah, I did it like fool. Okay, Adam Clayton Powell, remember him?
Oh, yes.
Oh, my gosh. Another hero of our day. He explains the black power.
Courage.
Yeah, just remarkably encouraging. This man.
He was bold.
Yeah, he was bold, man, with what he had surrounding him. This 1968, he's talking about the black power.
I went to St. Louis, Missouri the other day. They had Black Panthers from all over the country. No one knew about it at all. They had machine guns, recoilless rifles, grease guns, Lugers, 25 of them, all armed. And the chief of police met me at the airport when I arrived, and they were there, right there at the steps. He said, "You were violating the law." "Yeah, we're violating the law." He said, "We're tired of our white and black leaders, Jackie and Martin and Bobby, being killed. We're going to protect this man while he's here." And they didn't arrest one of them. Because they said if you arrest one, then someone's going to die, because we are ready to kill. Black power means black dignity. Just as surely as you're proud to be white, we're proud to be black. Black is beautiful, baby. It's pretty. I always say to my brothers, I say, "Baby, don't worry about the white chicks. We got everything from chalk to charcoal in our own race." You see? Black is beautiful. Black is beautiful. Black power means dignity. It means we're going to walk side by side with you or through you. We're going to be with dignity and integrity. We don't want any more than you have, and we're not going to accept any less than you have. That's black power.
We don't want no more. We don't want no less. Man sat in Congress. Now then, here goes Stokely Carmichael. Y'all know him. He gives a speech on passive boycotts. He was kind of against Martin Luther King and the whole boycott of the bus system there. And well, now that I listened to this speech, I said to myself, somebody got it wrong. Stokely Carmichael.
Now, let us begin with the modern period of, I guess we could start with 1956 for our generation. This was the beginning of the rise of Dr. Martin Luther King. Dr. King decided that in Montgomery, Alabama, black people had to pay the same prices on the buses as did white people, but we had to sit in the back. And we could only sit in the back if every available seat was taken by a white person. If a white person was standing, a black person could not sit. So Dr. King and his associates got together and said, "This is inhuman. We will boycott your bus system." Now understand what a boycott is. A boycott is a passive act. It is the most passive political act that anyone can commit, a boycott. Because what the boycott was doing was simply saying, "We will not ride your buses." No sort of antagonism. He was not even verbally violent. He was peaceful. Dr. King's policy was that nonviolence would achieve the gains for black people in the United States. His major assumption was that if you are nonviolent, if you suffer, your opponent will see your suffering and will be moved to change his heart. That's very good. He only made one fallacious assumption. In order for nonviolence to work, your opponent must have a conscience. The United States has none.
Well, he's right about that. Don't have a conscience.
Fallacious.
But I like that word. Isn't that one? Yeah. That was a fight between him and the SNCC and SLC something. Yeah, the Southern League. Yeah.
Southern Christian Leadership.
And then, of course, there was Malcolm X in that fight with Martin Luther. You know, And I can understand the fight because it's difficult to be beat for so many hundreds of years. And then now we get to a point where we can overcome, but yet now you want me to be beat again. I understand the fight from the opposing side. Martin Luther King's way worked out for many of us. And I will say that the other side worked out for many of us too.
To some degree.
Yeah, to some degree it did.
But it was easier to go to jail for passive resistance than for aggressive resistance. Because aggressive resistance gave them evidence against you all the more.
It did. What it did to make you feel good that you was able to strike a white man.
I'm doing life, but I got him back.
Felt good. Yeah, and I'm totally against striking anybody. I don't care how bad it is. Hey, we're going to... It's 5 o'clock.
I was asked an interesting question. What the word boycott come from? Why boycott?
Boycott, not girl cott.
Yeah, or toycott, anything.
That's good.
So it forced me to look it up.
Ooh, can you answer that afterwards?
Oh, okay. It's a real quick answer.
I like it.
It's somebody's name. It is what they did to somebody.
Really?
Yeah. Charles Boycott is his name.
Wow. I might have known that and just forgot. The more you know. I wish we had the sound to go with it. Okay. Hey, this is I Have a Dream. You know you got to play that one. This is Martin Luther King. This is a short one, though. It's a short one. We'll talk about that right after the break. It's the Walter Jones Show.
Oh, no. Did you miss part of today's show? Well, just head to Spreaker.com. That is Spreaker, SPREAKER.com, and type in The Sir Walter Jones Show to get today's episode and past ones. So do it now.
I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up, live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal. I have a dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia, sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will be able to sit down together at the table of brotherhood. I have a dream. My 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream. I have a dream that one day every valley shall be exalted. Every hill and mountain shall be made low. The rough places will be made plain, and the crooked places will be made straight. And the glory of the Lord shall be revealed, and all flesh shall see it together.
The following show is paid programming and does not necessarily express the views and opinions of Urban Broadcast Media and its subsidiaries.
Thank you for listening to UBM Praise.
Today is Monday, and that means it's the Men Chronicles, a women's guide to men. No, we are not from Mars, but we are from homes that raise us correctly and, more importantly, godly. Get to know us a little better in the Men's Chronicles, right here on the Sir Walter Jones Show.
Investigative Report, Weekend Reports, April 9th, 10th. Man, that's yesterday's news. If you're just tuning in, breaking news, for those who just tuned in, American radio personality and host of the Doug Banks Show. Doug Banks passed today, diagnosed with diabetes actually in the 80s. Banks, age 56, suffered from complications which led to kidney failure. Banks is survived by his 2 daughters, Kennedy and Kelly. Continue to pray for that family. Coming down from the weekend, April 9th through the 10th, a college teen shot in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. 19-year-old Annette January was fatally shot and killed while at a party with friends. January, a native of Gary, Indiana, was a freshman athlete at Southern University. An altercation was started by a group of men who left and then returned and opened fire. Saints shot down, victims of road rage. 34-year-old Will Smith, not the actor, but the former Saints defensive end, was killed, and his wife, Raquel, was wounded in a late-night shooting in New Orleans. I'm sure her name is Raquel, but police said Smith and his wife were traveling when their Mercedes-Benz SUV was rear-ended by a Hummer H2. The collision caused the Smith's vehicle to hit a Chevrolet Impala traveling along the same street. Smith and the driver in the Hummer exchanged words, at which time the driver of the Hummer produced a handgun and shot Smith multiple times and his 34-year-old wife twice in the right leg. Closed case. The attorneys for Daniel Green are requesting a new trial. In 1993, Green was convicted in the death of Michael Jordan's father, James Green. The attorneys argue that Green helped dispose of Jordan's body but was not involved in the carjacking. The Attorney General says the case should not be reopened and consider the defense's finding as irrelevant and inadmissible. Centennial celebration. Outstanding author of children's book and Newbery Award winner Beverly Cleary will turn 100 years old on Tuesday. Honored this weekend for her life's works, Cleary has brought smiles to children and have broadened their love for reading. Starting in her early 30s, the Oregon native has written such books as Beezus and Ramona, then Ramona Quimby, age 8, and then The Mouse and the Motorcycle, and Henry Huggins, and so on. In sports, the Chicago Bulls will end their season on Wednesday against the 76ers. They were eliminated on Sunday from postseason play after the Pacers took the 8th and final playoff spot. In weather, April showers and snow will hopefully bring May flowers. This weekend, daytime highs will range from the mid-50s to 60s, with nighttime temps ranging in the low to upper 40s. Worst political speech in history. 1841. Often noted as the worst inaugural address in history, William Henry Harrison's speech was long, delivered in cold weather, and preceded him death. 32 days. Gotta go, y'all. That was Marilyn Keeter for the Sir Walter Jones Show.
The name of the game is Connect 4.
Gotcha! 4 cross. One more game.
Object, connect 4 of your checkers in a row while preventing your opponent from doing the same. But look out, your opponent can sneak up on you and win the game.
I won. Where? I can't. Here, diagonally. Pretty sneaky, sis.
Connect 4, the vertical checkers game from Milton Bradley.
Welcome back to the Sir Walter Jones Show. I'm he with Alvin C. Carter.
I'm he.
Yeah, you just heard Martin Luther King's March on Washington speech, I Have a Dream. He wasn't going to do that speech. He was done and get ready to sit down. It was the great Mahalia Jackson who was on stage, sitting behind him or next to him or somewhere around there on the stage. She says, "Tell him about the dream, Martin. Tell him about the dream." And then he says, well, he had done the speech before somewhere else. And he just went on forward, and nobody really remembers the speech prior to that. It's just amazing.
They would sleep during the speech.
They were knocked out.
Everybody was dreaming then.
they was showing up dreaming. Okay, let's see what we're going. Got to move fast because this second hour always go by really fast. Yep, it's gone already. Harold Washington, the great mayor, Harold Washington. My goodness, today. He was talking about the legacy of Richard J. Daley, Old Man Daley, who passed in 74, 75, somewhere around there.
Later than that.
Yeah, well, I think it was 75. Y'all go ahead, Google it. But yeah, here's the words.
I was older than that.
Of Harold Washington.
Daley was in a business. He treated me as a business person would treat people in the business. That's the way he treated most people. Nothing personal about it. That's the way he functioned. That's the way he operated. He was the consummate politician. He was the quintessence of the political figure. He was a father figure. Whether or not he was a man of compassion, I couldn't say. I dare say he was. He struck me as being a person who you could like if you got to know. But I dare say very few people knew him. I'm certain you can find on every corner now somebody who had the confidence of Daley, who talked to Daley, who Daley leaned on. I mean, they're all in the woodwork. Most of them, this just wasn't true. Very few people knew this man. He was a loner. when you get right down to it, most powerful people who have real integrity and real character are loners. You know, they don't spend all their time garrulsing around. They have to pull back and think and reflect and get their batteries charged. They may like people, they may deal with people, they may function with people, but they're basically and fundamentally loners. And that's true in politics, it's true in art, it's true in science, it's probably true in the entertainment world. And Daley was of that.
Yeah, he was of that kind.
That.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
But now talk about vocabulary.
Mm-hmm.
He probably had the most vast.
He did.
Fluid vocabulary because those words rolled off.
It did.
Second nature.
Yeah.
Unlike, when some of us use them, you can tell, okay, let me find one if it's right, okay. Boom, we drop it on you. What that mean? But with Harold, it's like, what did he say?
Yeah,
is that English? But I know it's English, but
right.
Man, it was, as a teenager, I was just amazed at him and his oratorical skill.
Yeah, I used to take the dictionary and just start at page 1. And just try to say, I want to be like this man. It's like sailors. Sailors say cups every other word.
Yeah.
This man used a big word every other word.
Yeah. He flowed in prolific terminology like a sailor with profanity.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, Daley died at 76, by the way.
Okay. I knew I was older than 72.
You was older than 72.
I knew I was older than the year 72.
I didn't say 72. I said 75. So I got a year. I'm a year off. Although he died December 20th, so I'm technically right. Give me that.
Of 76?
Yeah, he died 76, December 20th. 76.
Okay, it was almost 77. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
They put Christmas on hold here. No, I remember us going to the to City Hall while he's lying in state.
That's right. Yeah. He died. Matter of fact, Elvis had just died too.
Elvis died in February of 77.
Yeah, you see it right around there.
It was all about everybody leaving.
Everybody was getting up out of here.
Let's go. I'm going to the party with the mayor.
Lemonade. Okay, hey, we're going to James Earl Jones. This one here is an amazing speech. This is called Fences, from the play Fences. You Ain't Never Liked Me. It's from a Broadway production of Fences. It was from the 1987 Tony Awards. Really, if you guys have never seen a Broadway show, y'all don't know what you're missing.
You ain't got to go to Broadway either.
Now, you don't have to go Broadway.
Yeah,
no.
You can go on Hall Street.
You sure can.
You can go on State Street.
That's right. Chicago is the second place in the United States for Broadway.
Yes.
Yeah, they just call it Broadway.
That's why we're second city.
Yeah, absolutely. Come on now, you better preach. James Earl.
A memorable scene by James Earl Jones as a stern father who has struggled to build a life and keep control of his family shows him teaching his son a painful lesson about setting his expectations for affection.
Can I ask you a question?
What the hell you want to ask me? Mrs. Stawicki is the one you got the questions for.
How come you ain't never liked me?
Liked you? Who in the hell ever said, I got to like you? What law is there to say, I got to like you? Do you want to stand up in my face and ask me some damn fool-ass question like that? Talk about liking somebody. Come here, boy, when I talk to you. Straighten up, goddammit. Ask your question. What law is there to say, I got to like you?
None.
All right, then.
That's a
Don't you eat every day? Answer me when I talk to you. Don't you eat every day?
Yeah.
Nigga, as long as you living in my house, you put a sir on the end of it when you talk to me.
Yes, sir.
You eat every day.
Yes, sir.
Got a roof over your head.
Yes, sir.
And clothes on your back.
Yes, sir.
Why you think that is?
Because of you.
Hell, I know it's because of me. Why do you think that is?
Because you like me.
Like you. I go out of here every morning and bust my butt putting up with them crackers all day long because I like you. You is the biggest fool I ever saw. It is my job. It is my responsibility. You understand that? A man got to take care of his family. You live in my house. You sleep your behind on my bedclothes. You put my food in your belly because you are my son. You are my flesh and blood, not because I like you. It is my duty to take care of you. I owe a responsibility to you. Wait now. Let's get this straight right now. We'll go along any further. I ain't got to like you. Mr. Rand, don't give me my money come payday because he liked me. He give me because he owed me. Now, I didn't give you everything I had to give you. I gave you your life. Your mama and me worked it out between us. And lacking your black ass was not a part of the bargain, and don't you try and go through life worried if somebody like you or not. You best make sure that they are doing right by you. You understand what I'm saying, boy?
Yes, sir.
Then you get the hell out of my face and go on down under A&P.
Yeah. And then he turned to the audience and said, Luke.
Even though it was profanity, even though he used cuss words, it didn't sound profane.
No, it didn't.
It sounded passionate.
It did. It was. That's why I left it.
It chilled through me because I can identify with that being a father now. I know you can.
Oh
I mean, because the rumor that we don't do for our children. And it seems like the son never gets it until he becomes a father.
Yes, sir. Oh, my God.
And I can only imagine if it was in the playwright's plan to show that redemption when the father, when the father becomes the grandfather, and then the son becomes the father, and then he can say, and start spoiling the grandkids.
Yeah.
Come here, I like you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay, what did you do to mine?
And that's why I left the profanity in there. I usually don't do that, but that I needed y'all to hear the compassion even in those words there. I was going to the great Ronald Reagan. Joe Hill says, I know this is not going to be on the show, but Ronald Reagan is yada yada. I said, man, please. I love Ronald Reagan. Yes. I didn't like his policies, but I loved to hear that man talk when I was young.
And just know, all policies that are labeled or stamped onto a president aren't always his.
No.
Sometimes it's the party's decision. Like we know that if someone else puts on the floor, he's just the moderator of the meeting.
That's all he is. He's the puppet.
Yes.
I'm your puppet. Reagan at the Brandenburg Gate. Mr. Gorbachev, you know the rest, right? June 12, 1987.
Today I say, as long as this gate is closed, as long as this scar of a wall is permitted to stand, it is not the German question alone that remains open, but the question of freedom for all mankind. In the 1950s, Khrushchev predicted, "We will bury you." But in the West today, we see a free world that has achieved a level of prosperity and well-being unprecedented in all human history. In the communist world, we see failure. There is one sign the Soviets can make that would be unmistakable, that would advance dramatically the cause of freedom and peace. General Secretary Gorbachev, if you seek peace, if you seek prosperity for the Soviet Union and Eastern Europe, if you seek liberalization, come here to this gate. Mr. Gorbachev, open this gate. Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
One of the greatest speeches of that man's career, and the many presidents of that couple decades there, Mr. Gorbachev. That's in Germany, by the way. Maya Angelou pops up on the scene. She recites just quickly, "Still I Rise," 1992 documentary.
You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may trod me in the very dirt, but still like dust, I'll rise. You can shoot me with your words. You can cut me with your lies. You can kill me with your hatefulness, but just like life, I'll rise. Out of the huts of history's shame, I rise. Up from a past rooted in pain, I rise. A black ocean leaping and wide, welling and swelling, bearing in the tide. Leaving behind nights of terror and fear I rise. Into a daybreak miraculously clear I rise, bringing the gifts that my ancestors gave. I am the hope and the dream of the slave. And so, there I go.
Come on, girl. You go, girl. Gina. Now the Bullock says, now we listen to celebrities more often than great orators. Bono and Jay-Z gets more airtime than Dr. Crawford Loritz.
Crawford Loritz is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And this man I'm about to play, Michael Eric Dyson. Just another amazing walking encyclopedia. A little short thing here. This is the keynote speaking here in front of a big screen.
It's easy to stencil Obama's face next to King's on a white T-shirt. But the shedding of blood and the bloodstained banner that King held high as a private citizen in America who died before he was 39. Be careful before you transmit the value of that life to a man who has now become the president, and which means historically the enemy of the best interests historically of African people in America. So now what we got to do is figure out, when the power and empire has a black face, how do we negotiate the tensions and the critical tensions that exist between our love and adoration of him and our seeing him fulfilling a certain job. So now that Moses is Pharaoh, now that David has become Goliath, we must shift our perspectives and begin to demand an accounting of Mr. Obama.
Boy, here's some other tidbits here. Chief Joseph, this is Indian, October 5, 1877. He does the surrender speech. Got to remember the Native Americans. I live with them in South Dakota. Trust me, they deserve the recognition. Speech of Alexander the Great, 326 B.C., River, India. Then you got William Wilborn Force. He talks about abolition speech, May 12, 1789. Let's see. Of course, Theodore Roosevelt has his speeches, and Charles de Gaulle, the Appeal of 18 June. That's in London. Great speech. Socrates has a speech called Apology, 399 B.C. He was in Athens when he spoke it. And then, of course, George Washington, his resignation speech of December 23, 1784. Gandhi had a few, and Winston Churchill also had a few as well. But William Faulkner, Nobel Prize acceptance speech of 1950, Stockholm, Sweden. And, of course, Martin Luther King also received and had an acceptance speech as well. Marcus Tullius Cicero, the first oration against Catiline in 63 B.C. in Rome. Let's see here. We also have Pericles, the funeral of oration. That's in 431 B.C. That one was done in Athens as well. General Douglas MacArthur, his farewell address to Congress, April 19, 1951 in Washington, D.C. And then, of course, let's see, Ronald Reagan, he's got a few of them. Frederick Douglass had a wonderful speech called What to the Slave is the 4th of July. That was a great one, man.
I would have loved to heard his voice. Too bad technology wasn't.
Yeah, he spoke it on July 5th, 1852. He was in Rochester, New York, and I read that speech over and over, and this is amazing. Okay, and then let's see. There's quite a few, just so many here, and we'll tell you what the greatest orator of all time is towards the end of the show. But I want to go to let's go to the preachers. We got about 5 minutes before we go to the controversial corner. But Hyman Appleman, these are most of them, 100% of them, I think, are all white. We think of great orators, preachers, of sermons of our time, of B.R. Larkin, W.E. Sangster, Dr. D. Martin Lloyd Jones, Walter A. Mayer, R.G. Lee. Okay, many of my white friends, they understand these people. J. Stewart Holden, George W. Truett, G. Campbell Morgan, A.T. Robertson, John Henry Jowett, Billy Sunday, Samuel Logan Bringle, Charles E. Jefferson, J. Wilbur Chapman, Lewis Albert Banks, F.B. Meyer, David James Burrell, B.H. Carroll, C.I. Schofield. We definitely got his books. Alexander White, Philip Brooks, of course, Charles H. Spurgeon, T. Dewitt Talmage, Joseph Parker, Henry P. Liddon, John A. Broadus, Alexander McLaren, Theodore Kohler, Charles Kingsley, J.C. Ryle, Robert Murray McEwen, I believe it is, Horatius Bonar, George Muller, Thomas Chalmers, Christmas Evans, George Whitfield, and Jonathan Edwards. All of these people, we've heard them as far as preachers is concerned when we've done our dissertations in school and what have you, our thesis papers in theology. These names always pop up. But although we kind of abandoned the great Jesse Jackson, he did have a good time in the 1960s and 70s.
He's a great speaker.
He's a great speaker. He is. Let's go to L, Brittany. This is one of the greatest from him.
Do you mean Jay?
Yes, I guess that's Jay.
It's a
somebody. I may be poor, but I am somebody. I may be on welfare, but I am somebody. I may be uneducated, but I am somebody. Many of you really believe that you're inferior. You really believe that black is supposed to stay back and white is right. Many of you have given up on being first-class citizens. You've given up on 3 meals a day. You've given up because somebody has defined you as a white man's slave rather than God's child. You're not put here to be a white man's footstool. You're put here to represent the very best in God's word.
Absolutely. We got some more preachers here. We'll finish the show off with many of these preachers here. Pastor Willie James Campbell, right here in Chicago, another great orator, preacher who he don't need notes really. I mean, he may come up with some, but he don't have to look at them. Right.
I can't.
Really,
I've never seen him with notes.
Yeah, he don't need them. This is where the lights came off. He was at St. I wonder was he at St. James? I can't remember. But the lights went off in the church by some osmosis, and then he just switched. He just knew how to work that room. It's called preaching in the dark. Let's go to Brittany.
What you're going through, you need to know something. When you lose your faith and you operate in defeat, when you lose your faith and you operate stagnant, when you lose your faith and you don't have power with God, you're crucifying the Lord all over again. I'm so glad that our God is a God of light. Our God is a God that works for us. Our God is a God that works through us. The wind may blow and the storm may rise. Billows may roll and breakers may dash. But if you hold on just a little while longer, God will make it all right. All right. All right. Yes, he will. Shout glory. You better grab somebody and say, come on, neighbor. God will deliver our glory. Yeah. It's been rough. The devil been messing with you. This is your message. God sent you tonight to let you know that you got the victory. Jesus gave it to you. Thanks be to God which giveth us the victory. You got to walk in victory. You got to talk in victory. You got to walking around depressed, you're God's child. You're God's brother. You're God's ambassador. You're God's soldier. You're God's elect. Because you belong to God, you're not defeated. The Bible says the God of this world have blinded the minds of them that believe not. But I got news for you. The God of this world was defeated 2,000 years ago. The God of this world was defeated on a hill called Calvary. I can't preach like this. I gotta preach something.
Politics, doctrine, current events. Let's meet at the Controversy Corner on the Sir Walter Jones Show here on UBM Praise. Controversy. Can't understand human curiosity. Good evening, everybody. This is Keep It Real Carter here at the intersection of controversy and comments. Every idle word that you shall say, you will be given account of. That's what the Bible says. In fact, a great orator, Jesus Christ himself, made that statement. So make it count. The value of your comments is reflected by the impact of its response. What do you mean by that? You know, people make jokes, they make comments, they make snide remarks. But why do you say it? What's your purpose? If you crack a joke, is it harmful humor or is it helpful? You know what they say, a little truth is in all jokes, right? So when you be talking about my mama, you better make sure you know who you're talking about. Or when you call me fat, are you trying to encourage me to lose weight or you just want to hurt my feelings? Just something to think about. And the next point, you know, we say a whole lot of things all the time. But how do you sound when you say it? You know, they say it's not what you say, but how you say it. You could say, hey, baby, or hey, baby. What was your intent? Voice inflections are very important because the voice is a very powerful tool. It can take an innocent word and turn it into something totally different. Walter, you look good today. Walter, you look good today. See the difference? Mm-hmm. Now he blushing. Mm-hmm. As I take my clothes, as every great orator would say, never leave a discussion without understanding this one thing. Communication is not what you say, but what you want your listener to understand. And that is my Controversial Corner.
What you want your listener to understand. And Controversial Corner, 5:30 every day, Monday through Friday, right here on UBM Networks or UrbanBroadcastMedia.com. Yeah, on the Sir Walter Jones Show. I want to hear from this man's, Alvin Cicado's pastor, the man who he's known for a long time. The Lord took him away from us a few months ago, but I tell you, his sermons continue to ring in our ears. This was a great one here. This is by the great apostle R.D. Hinton called Curse That Witch from the Monument of Faith.
Ooh, he had some catchy titles.
Absolutely. This is Jay Brittany.
A lot of folk that's under witchcraft and don't even know it. But I'm here to tell you folks, if you listen to me over radio and the devil's been fixing you now, it's worse when you've doved in it. When you've been doving in witchcraft, when you're doving in the powers of darkness and all bewitched, bothered and bewildered and messed up and then looking, wonder why folks are doing you that way. But I'm speaking of you that don't have nothing to do with that mess, but somebody is sending forces. Somebody is sending power. Somebody is sending demonic forces in your direction, trying to confuse you, trying to make you upset, keeping you from sleeping, disturbing you. God told me to tell you, there's power in the name of Jesus. His name can break the powers of witchcraft, voodooism, witch doctor, warlocks, soothsayers, occults. His power forces of the enemy. And I'm here to tell you, don't be afraid. Let them sprinkle the goofy dust. Let them get John the Conqueror. Let them go and get, amen. Talking about I went to Louisiana and I done picked up, thank God, some weeds. I done picked up a leaf. I done picked up a branch. Honey, you can go to Louisiana and pick up a tree and come back here. You can't do a thing with me. Greater he that is in me. I curse your power. You witch. You witch. I curse your power in the name of Jesus. Hallelujah. I bind you. I'm not asking you. I'm commanding you. Hold your peace. Shut up. Get out of here. In Jesus' name.
I curse that witch. The great R.D. Hinton. Man. Ain't nothing like it, y'all. Chicago got great preachers. This one right here is he going there. This is Leroy Elliott, y'all.
Oh, yeah.
This is y'all go to my show called The Art of Hooping. The Art of Hooping, which to this day still is the #1 show.
I'm sure.
Thousands of people listen to that show.
With
they are fascinated with it. Okay, this is The Art of Hooping from Leroy Elliott. He's doing we call it the Jasper Williams preaching style. Leroy Elliott, this is number H.
Can't be so dead that we are beyond resurrection power. I'm so happy to know tonight that we can't be so dead that our Christ cannot revive us, revitalize us, reanimate us, reactivate us, refashion us, remold us, recondition us, restore us, rekindle us. I am so happy to tell you tonight that our Christ, he knows how to walk down the avenues of our mentality and redirect the crazy jam traffic on the boulevard of our thought. I'm happy. And so the Bible says,
there you go.
This man, yes,
that's the shift.
That's the shift, Doc.
See, now he went from a drive to a hoop. He's about to go into a hoop.
But Jesus, he showed up. Jesus knew this man, he knew his dilemma. He knew this man had now lost his mind. He knew that this man a resurrection.
That's that Baptist drag.
Yes.
And Jesus say to this man,
okay, good.
Mister,
it's the old African griot type. It's really it's an art in itself.
It is an art form,
you know,
and some people will consider you not actually preaching until you
you do it. Absolutely, yeah.
And they do train you if you're willing to be trained.
They do.
I can't go to that school.
No,
I don't have a voice.
I don't have a voice either. No, I'll be gone in 2
and I
minutes.
can't think that low.
No, I can't.
No, it takes. You got to be.
Yeah, you do.
Man.
You really do. This is Dr. Tellus J. Chapman. Brittany, this is Deed. He says, "I thank God for His hands."
Oh, praise his name, and in that God answers prayer, it becomes evidence that the Lord had a hand in all of our affairs. Oh, praise his name. I thank God for his hand.
Oh, praise his name. The same hand that took nothing and made something and took something and made everything. The same hand that took silicon and oxygen and made dirt and then took the dirt and made dust and then took the dust and made a man and then took a man and made a woman and took a woman and a man and made all men. Oh, praise his name. He took helium and hydrogen, put them together and made the sun. He took the sun and made light. He took the light and made the heat and took the heat and made the energy. I'm trying to tell you, the Lord has mighty hands. Oh, praise his name. He took silicon and oxygen. Oh, praise his name. And made a man. He took angiosperm and made a seed. He took a seed and made a sprout. Took a sprout and made a brush. Took a brush and made a bush. Took a bush and made a tree. Took a tree and made wood. Took a wood and made a cross. Took a cross and made an altar. Took the altar and brought his son. Sacrificed him on the altar. Gave you and I salvation. He got all power in his hand. Shake your neighbor's hand and tell your neighbor, whensoever you pray unto God, ask the Lord.
He was between keys and get on my nerve. The keyboard organ didn't follow him. He was trying to go up. I'm sorry.
All right, Brett.
He went there and he didn't follow.
The guy didn't follow him. Man.
I hope I wasn't the only one who heard that.
Oh, my God. He didn't find that organist. Okay, this is Reverend Jasper Williams, Jr. This is he preaching at the eulogy of Reverend C.L. Franklin. You know C.L. Franklin?
Oh,
right?
yeah, that's Aretha Daddy.
Aretha Franklin's dad.
Who was the template.
Yes, of this whole thing. This is a pastor of Salem Baptist Church, Jasper Williams. Let's see what he got. G, Brittany.
Unto death. God, I will give you a crown of life. He did not say, you understand, be thou faithful until death. And I don't know the reason why, but for some reason we falsely use that verse. And for some reason we somehow misquote that valuable verse.
He didn't drop down.
My God, because it does not say, be thou faithful until death. My God, but rather it says, be thou faithful unto death. And there is a difference in the word until and the word unto. Oh, Lord. And that word until means to the point. But the word unto means beyond the point. Oh, Lord. And until means it's limited.
Yes, sir.
But unto me is beyond all bounds.
Help yourself. Help yourself.
And beyond
Tell a story.
all limits.
Oh, Lord. Oh, you got to throw that in there every 4 or 5 times.
This church. And how Dr. Franklin bought this church from a mighty long way.
Now, Organ's trying to force him in the keys.
Oh, Lord. Yeah, evidence shows that there were too many until members instead of unto members. Oh, Lord. And Reverend Franklin, I'm with you until I disagree with you. Oh, Lord. And Dr. Franklin, I'm with you until you hurt my feelings. Oh, Lord. And I'm with you until you don't call my name. And that's why I'm glad the writer did not say, be faithful until. But then I hear him everything. Be faithful unto death. Oh, Lord, and the road may be rough. The going may be tough. But I hear him saying, don't be faithful until bad things happen, but be faithful unto death. Yeah.
All right, Brett.
That means
man, I'll tell you, boy, these are the generals of our day. Dr. C.A.W. Clark. You got to go to our show again called the Art of Whooping, and then we got Dr. A. Lewis Patterson. He's doing preaching a eulogy, and then he preaches on eulogy actually. Dr. Quentin E. Hammonds, I call that the asthma style. Oh yeah, the asthma style. He's the pastor of Antioch Missionary Baptist in Birmingham. And let's see, considering, of course, the great pastor E.V. Hill will be on TBN on Sunday nights, and then Pastor Elliot Ivy preached. His sermon was called "There." Oh, I wish I had time to play that. Out of Houston, Texas, and then of course Pastor E. Dewey Smith. Oh yeah. Go to K, Brittany. Just get a minute of that. And this is the new church, or because you got the musicians. You don't have
the great R.L. Mitchell in your.
This you got to go to that show.
You put R.L. Mitchell for real?
No, I did not. Oh, because it'd have been a show of fussing, fussing about your pastor. That's K. Go to K. He'd have been fussing.
Shake a neighbor's hand and say, neighbor, rest, because you got some potential. Rest, because God has more in store. Say, neighbor, I prophesy over your life that he's going to restore every year that the locusts have eaten. He's going to restore everything that the palmer worm and the cankerworm have taken away. I didn't mean to go here, but I feel my ride here. Look at somebody in the eye and say, neighbor, you got a whole lot of potential. Your future looks better than your past. Say, neighbor, I speak over your life.
All right, Brittany.
Jobs.
Because he can go there. Because he started screaming towards the end. And that's Corey Henry on the organ, by the way, from Snarky Puppy. Oh, wow. So you know they went there.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Man, and don't think I forgot about the women, because on that show we also did Evangelist Joyce Rogers, Bishop Iona Locke. We did Bishop Millicent Hunter, and of course Dorinda and Karen Clark. And they both are hoopers in their own rights. Okay, and there are other women out there that can do their thing. Okay. But also on this show, great orators. Man, what's in my throat? Great orators, sermons, and speeches. We did also movie speeches. Okay, I don't have really much time to do that. Field of Dreams. James Earl Jones did an amazing orating on a Field of Dreams called "People Will Come." People will come. That's what he called it. And then Independence Day. When the president he rallied the troops. Yes. Okay, and then Braveheart movie clip where they will not take our freedom. Yeah, 1995. Gibson, yes. Then a show called Network in 1976. He says, "I'm mad as hell, and I'm not going to take it anymore." I was a kid when I heard that, and I said, "Oh my God, he cussing on TV." And then one of my favorite movies, James Stewart, Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. That was a speech in 1939. That's when I learned about the whole thing about filibustering and all that stuff. I learned it from that movie.
Wow.
I didn't know what filibuster was until I saw that movie.
I got to go see the movie then.
Yeah,
it still don't make sense to me.
Oh, it doesn't? Well, it makes a lot of sense after you see the movie.
Okay.
It's amazing. Of course, no one has ever really filibustered like that. Now, this filibuster now is just stupid. It's a joke. But that, man, back then, you got to see it, man. Go to YouTube. It's there. Okay. Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. And then they did an update to it, of course, but I like the original.
Always original.
But this last one I'm going to play is, I think, one of the greatest from a movie. This is from Jeff Daniels, who portrays a new anchor, Will McAvoy, I think it is. It's an HBO series called The Newsroom.
Oh, yeah, McAvoy.
He delivered a stunning, hard-hitting, accurate, and intellectual monologue response when asked why America is the greatest country in the world. It's a sobering outlook in the state of the USA. All right, why America is not the greatest country in the world. Man, pay attention to this. You probably heard it before.
Hi, my name is Jenny. I'm a sophomore, and this is for all three of you. Can you say in one sentence or less what... you know what I mean. Can you say why America is the greatest country in the world?
Diversity and opportunity.
Lewis? Freedom and freedom. So let's keep it that way.
Well, the New York Jets.
No, I'm going to hold you to an answer on that. What makes America the greatest country in the world?
Well, Lewis and Sharon said it. Diversity and opportunity and freedom and freedom.
I'm not letting you go back to the airport without answering the question.
Well, our Constitution is a masterpiece. James Madison was a genius. The Declaration of Independence is, for me, the single greatest piece of American writing. You don't look satisfied.
One's a set of laws and the other's a declaration of war. I want a human moment from you. What about the people? Why is America
not the greatest country in the world, Professor? That's my answer.
You're saying...
Yes.
Let's talk about...
Fine. Sharon, the NEA is a loser. Yeah, it accounts for a penny out of our paycheck, but he gets to hit you with it anytime he wants. It doesn't cost money. It costs votes. It costs airtime and column inches. You know why people don't like liberals? Because they lose. If liberals are so smart, how come they lose so always? Hey, and with a straight face, you're going to tell students that America is so star-spangled awesome that we're the only ones in the world who have freedom? Canada has freedom. Japan has freedom. The UK, France, Italy, Germany, Spain, Australia, Belgium has freedom. So 207 sovereign states in the world, like 180 of them have freedom.
All right.
And yeah, you, sorority girl, just in case you accidentally wander into a voting booth one day, there's some things you should know. And one of them is there is absolutely no evidence to support the statement that we're the greatest country in the world. We're 7th in literacy, 27th in math, 22nd in science, 49th in life expectancy, 178th in infant mortality, 3rd in median household income, number 4 in labor force, and number 4 in exports. We lead the world in only 3 categories: number of incarcerated citizens per capita, number of adults who believe angels are real, and defense spending, where we spend more than the next 26 countries combined, 25 of whom are allies. Now, none of this is the fault of a 20-year-old college student, but you nonetheless are, without a doubt, a member of the worst generation ever. So when you ask what makes us the greatest country in the world, I don't know what the f*** you're talking about. Yosemite? Sure used to be. We stood up for what was right. We fought for moral reasons. We passed laws, struck down laws for moral reasons. We waged wars on poverty, not poor people. We sacrificed. We cared about our neighbors. We put our money where our mouths were, and we never beat our chest. We built great big things, made ungodly technological advances, explored the universe, cured diseases, and we cultivated the world's greatest artists and the world's greatest economy. We reached for the stars, acted like men. We aspired to intelligence. We didn't belittle it. It didn't make us feel inferior. We didn't identify ourselves by who we voted for in the last election, and we didn't scare so easy. We were able to be all these things and do all these things because we were informed by great men who were revered. First step in solving any problem is recognizing there is one. America is not the greatest country in the world anymore.
Sure wish it was. Not anymore. And these great men and women use what we call alliteration, assonance, and similes, and metaphors, allegory, personifications, hyperboles, antitheses, characterizations. Okay, you and Alvin, you, myself, we talked about this on shows before, and the proper way of taking words and putting them in a way that we can understand. It's just great to do that. I think, well, I know for the fact the greatest orator ever was and still is today is the Lord Jesus Christ.
Yes.
Yes. There is none other who can get a message out there that can change the entire world. And that is he. And he's not dead.
He's yet alive.
He's yet alive. And you can find him, you know where? Inside of you. Yeah, you just give yourself to him and bam, there he is. You go outside your door and you look up, there he is. Okay, you go to Romans chapter 1 and you see how God talks about people rejecting him. But we got to get out of here. I'm on my way to Phoenix tonight, so pray for me that plane stay in the air and then it bring us behind down. Okay. Yeah. And I'll be back Thursday. The show will be on tomorrow. Larry Jones will be here with Alvin C. Carter at 4 o'clock in the p.m. I want to apologize to Barack Obama and Michelle. We didn't get a chance to interview you today. But tomorrow, Alvin C. Carter will get you in there, okay? Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, brother, for coming and helping us out with the wonderful controversial corner today. The Great Dictator, final speech to Hans Zimmer's Time. This is from 1940, the movie The Great Dictator.
I was wondering if you was going to
I have to put it in here.
Yes.
You can't do a show like this without this man, the man who we never heard speak until. Yeah, what's his name, by the way?
Charles Chaplin.
That's him. Mm-hmm. He is one of the starters of, what's the movie production company?
United Artists.
Yes, that's him.
With Douglas Fairbanks
Sr. And the other woman, I forgot her name. Mary Pickford, yeah. All right, I knew the nerd would know it.
Yes.
Thank you, nerd.
Before we leave, the term boycott comes from a man named Charles Boycott, who was a landowner, and his serfs resisted his unfair practices by blocking the supplies from coming into his home. And the reason it's called boycott is because he finally yielded to their demands because he was starving to death.
Wow. That's it. Now you know. The more you know.
The resistance.
Absolutely. Hope we can try to play it all, Brittany. All right, because they want to hear it all. Love you guys. Sir Walter Jones Show.
I'm sorry, but I don't want to be an emperor. That's not my business. I don't want to rule or conquer anyone. I should like to help everyone if possible. Jew, Gentile, black man, white. We all want to help one another. Human beings are like that. We want to live by each other's happiness, not by each other's misery. We don't want to hate and despise one another. In this world there's room for everyone, and the good earth is rich and can provide for everyone. The way of life can be free and beautiful. But we have lost the way. Greed has poisoned men's souls, has barricaded the world with hate, has goose-stepped us into misery and bloodshed. We have developed speed, but we have shut ourselves in. Machinery that gives abundance has left us in want. Our knowledge has made us cynical, our cleverness hard and unkind. We think too much and feel too little. More than machinery, we need humanity. More than cleverness, we need kindness and gentleness. Without these qualities, life will be violent, and all will be lost. The aeroplane and the radio have brought us closer together. The very nature of these inventions cries out for the goodness in men, cries out for universal brotherhood, for the unity of us all. Even now, my voice is reaching millions throughout the world, millions of despairing men, women, and little children, victims of a system that makes men torture and imprison innocent people. To those who can hear me, I say, do not despair. The misery that is now upon us is but the passing of greed, the bitterness of men who fear the way of human progress. The hate of men will pass, and dictators die, and the power they took from the people will return to the people. And so long as men die, liberty will never perish. Soldiers, don't give yourselves to brutes, men who despise you, enslave you, who regiment your lives, tell you what to do, what to think, and what to feel, who drill you, diet you, treat you like cattle, use you as cannon fodder. Don't give yourselves to these unnatural men with machine minds and machine hearts. You are not machines, you are not cattle, you are men. You have the love of humanity in your hearts. You don't hate, only the unloved hate, the unloved and the unnatural. Soldiers, don't fight for slavery, fight for liberty. In the 17th chapter of St. Luke it is written, the kingdom of God is within man, not one man nor a group of men, but in all men, in you. You, the people, have the power to create machines, the power to create happiness. You, the people, have the power to make this life free and beautiful, to make this life a wonderful adventure. Then in the name of democracy, let us use that power. Let us all unite. Let us fight for a new world, a decent world, that will give men a chance to work, that will give youth a future and old age a security. By the promise of these things, brutes have risen to power, but they lie. They do not fulfill that promise. They never will. Dictators free themselves, but they enslave the people. Now let us fight to fulfill that promise. Let us fight to free the world, to do away with national barriers, to do away with greed, with hate and intolerance. Let us fight for a world of reason, a world where science and progress will lead to all men's happiness. Soldiers, in the name of democracy, let us all unite!
Hey ladies and gents, if you missed any of today's show, head to Spreaker.com and search The Sir Walter Jones Show and listen to this show and past shows. Now remember, search for The Sir Walter Jones Show on Spreaker.com. That's Spreaker spelled SPREAKER.com. And enjoy.
You have been listening to The Sir Walter Jones Show, where Sir Walter Jones provides you with a biblical perspective on everyday life. Stay connected to Sir Walter Jones at his website, www.sirwalterjones.com. Search The Sir Walter Jones Show on Facebook or follow on Twitter at Sir Walter's Music. Until next time, thank you for listening to The Sir Walter Jones Show with Sir Walter Jones.